T-minus 15 seconds.
T-minus 10. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have engine ignition.
Yep.
And
the Antares launch vehicle from Wallops Flight Facility. Engines are at 100% thrust. Attitude is nominal.
And we have liftoff of the SS Piers Sellers carrying over 8,000 pounds of cargo to the International Space Station. Good performance on the first stage so far.
Steady at 100% thrust and nominal. Engine still at 100% thrust and nominal. Valve VNO3 open. Attitude remains nominal. Electrical power is nominal.
Everything continuing to look good on Antares.
Passing through 25,000 feet. Passing through max Q, attitude remains nominal.
The first stage is now passing through max Q, the area of maximum dynamic pressure on the rocket. Now 90 seconds into today's flight of the Northrop Grumman Cygnus resupply cargo craft headed to the International Space Station.
And MECO?
We have MECO, or main engine cutoff. Antares now entering a coast stage. Fairing separation will occur about 30 seconds from now.
Stage 1 Delta V. Stage 1 is separated.
And as we lose sight of the vehicle, switching to our animation, there are some controlled firings of the inner stage of the rocket, everything continuing to perform as expected.
Stage 2 ignition at 246. And the vehicle remains at nominal attitude. We have fairing separation.
Fairing separation confirms. Cygnus now exposed to the atmosphere as it continues its trek uphill to its preliminary orbit.
Stage 2 ignition.
Stage 2 ignition confirmed.
Stage 2 remains nominal.
Stage 2 is a solid rocket motor burn for about 2 minutes and 44 seconds.
And we have Stage 2 burnout.
Stage 2 burnout confirmed. Cygnus has reached the preliminary orbital insertion. The next major event will be Cygnus's
attitude remains nominal.
Separation from the second stage, which will occur at about the 8-minute 51-second mark.
Antares is in orbit and will close for roughly 100 seconds prior to payload separation. And we have payload separation.
Spacecraft separation confirmed. Cygnus now well on its way to the International Space Station.
The go-no-go poll is underway as Cygnus is holding at the 30-meter point. The flight director, Brandon Lloyd, is receiving a number of status reports from the various systems in this operation, including the robotics arm, the robotics officer, who is responsible for the robotic arm, and the visiting vehicle officer as well.
Here on the ground, and when you are ready, we'll take your call at the end of 3.2 in 1.110.
Houston Station, crew ready for Cygnus approach to capture point.
Cygnus is ready to proceed to the capture point. Expect approach to resume shortly.
Mission Control Houston has given a go for Cygnus to proceed through and continue on after holding at 30 meters. This go to proceed towards the capture point.
Cygnus has resumed approach to the capture point. Monitor approach within 30 meters per step 7 in 1.102. Crew is primed to issue retreat if the primary range is less than 6 meters.
Station copies. Step 7 of 1.102. Crew is primed to issue retreat command for pry range less than 6 meters.
The crew received word that we did poll a go here in Mission Control Houston to move past the 30-meter hold point and onto the capture point as the space station was flying over the country of Turkey. This go means that Cygnus can now proceed to its final approach to its capture point. Lighting conditions are critical once it reaches this point, as astronauts will want to use the camera on the robotic arm to see Cygnus, and operating in an orbital daytime can provide the right conditions for that. Teams here on the ground are in no hurry, and many windows are built into the timeline where the spacecraft can pause for better lighting conditions. Cygnus is on the move once again, now at 25 meters away from the space station, with that number decreasing.
Houston, station on 2 for Block Bravo report.
Go ahead, on 2.
Station on monitor 1, the light is within the corridor. The vehicle size matches the outline. The light is offset from the circle very slightly aft, and the circle is offset from the corridor very slightly starboard. On monitor 3, the light is within the corridor. The vehicle size matches the outline. The light is centered in the circle, and the circle is offset from the center of the corridor slightly starboard.
If you're just joining us, this Cygnus vehicle is approaching its capture point 10 to 12 meters away from the space station. It's currently just on the outside of 20 meters away. Previously, it did a brief hold at 30 meters away, and then again at the 250 meter mark. Both of these milestones were expected and planned into the timeline of today's events. Cygnus is on the move once again to its capture point, on its way to becoming attached to the space station's Earth-facing port on the Unity module.
Station Houston on 2 for your S1 view. We think you're going to run out of room there on your screen. If you take a look at step 3 in 1.110 and pan per step 3.1, you should be able to continue that tracking the vehicle in monitor 1.
Cygnus is now nearing 15 meters away from the space station as the space station crosses over the United Arab Emirates. You're now getting live views of the camera on the leads, or the latching end effector of the space station's robotic arm. The robotic arm will capture Cygnus today at the controls of NASA astronaut Raj Achari, with astronaut Caleb Barron with the assist. They're now in the cupola with eyes on Cygnus. Once captured, they'll hand off control of the robotic arm to the robotics officer here in Mission Control Houston. Cygnus has now arrived at its capture point. At this point, one final go, no-go poll will be conducted here in Mission Control Houston and with the flight control team over in Dulles, Virginia. With a go from Flight Director Brandon Lloyd, Raj Achari is go for capture. The poll is expected to begin here shortly.
Station Houston on 2, confirm capture point hold for step 8 in 1.102.
Station copies, perform step 8 of 1.102.
Cygnus is now at its capture point, holding steady about 12 meters away from the space station. Cygnus is now at the capture point, and the go-no-go poll is underway.
Houston Station, capture conditions confirmed and crew ready for Cygnus capture.
Stand by for capture. Station Houston on 2, go for Cygnus capture sequence, step 4 in 1.110, Cygnus capture. Begin monitoring the backaway cue card.
Station copies, go for capture sequence, backaway cue card applies.
After polling green across the board, Capcom Jackie Mahaffey communicated with the crew in orbit that we are go for capture. With the go for capture, you may start to see the robotic arm inch closer to the spacecraft in preparation for its upcoming grapple. The arm is expected to make contact with the capture target, followed by the closing of the snares on the lee, or the latching end effectors. In other words, the robotics arm's hand will firmly grab its target. We just got confirmation that the robotic arm is in motion. At the bottom of the spacecraft, you'll see a circle with a sort of pinwheel pattern on it and a black strip on top. That's Cygnus's capture target there on the spacecraft service section. The snares are at work here on the robotic arm of Canadarm2. And we have confirmed capture of Northrop Grumman's 17th commercial resupply mission at 3:44 a.m. Central Time as the space station and the SS Pierce Sellers Cygnus are flying over the Indian Ocean. To recap this weekend's events, Cygnus kicked off Northrop Grumman's CRS-17 mission atop an Antares rocket that launched from NASA's Wallops Flight Facility at 11:40 a.m. Central Time on Saturday, February 19th. Cygnus's day-and-a-half journey took it to the vicinity of the space station earlier this morning, while NASA astronauts Raj Achari and his backup, NASA astronaut Caleb Barron, monitored its approach through the approach ellipsoid and the keep-out sphere, and finally to its capture point. Chari grappled the spacecraft using the robotic arm, but they'll be hands off the Cygnus after this, moving on to other tasks aboard the orbiting lab. Control now switches over to the robotics officer, who will work to berth Cygnus to the space station. The ground-based controllers will align the spacecraft in preparation of berthing it to the space station's Earth-facing port on the Unity module. This concludes our coverage of rendezvous and capture of the SS Pierce Sellers Cygnus. We'll be back on air at 5:30 a.m. Central, 6:30 a.m. Eastern Time for coverage of the spacecraft's ground-controlled installation to the International Space Station. Until then, this is Mission Control Houston signing off.